Breeders' Cup Monster Pods continue with a look at the Turf Sprint, and we get to speak to a man who's been a key part of our In the Money media coverage on the In the Money Plus side, helping with trip notes, doing race write-ups, and always great to speak with this particular guest because of his blend of loving to study the form, but also being a horseman, growing up around them, knowing what makes them tick. Will Humphrey, great to have you on the Monster Pod.
Thanks for having me on, Pete. I'm coming to you live from Del Mar. If it wasn't so foggy outside, I'd move the camera over to the window and show you the wonderful view I've got of the track.
Fantastic. It's such a beautiful place. Envious that you're out there already. Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. I've been saying that Cogburn is probably the best American turf sprinter, well, ever. Do you think that's exaggeration, or do you think he deserves that accolade?
Well, you've been stealing my notes because I've got written in front of me. I haven't gone quite that far, but I have said best turf sprinter since Golden Pal, who obviously won this race a couple of years back. I mean, he's an incredible horse, really, isn't he? He's just, he brings his show on the road. He wasn't even meant to run in at Kentucky Downs last time out, having been scratched off out of the off-turf Troy Stakes, and he just took it in his stride. He just blitzed them to the front. His speed figures tower over this field, and nothing can get close to him. Why is that going to change next week?
I tend to feel similarly about the typically US-based runners, but of course we do have a big challenge from around the world. Another little giveaway here from the In the Money Plus side, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. We've got our man Rob Dove, one of the top 10 pro punters of the UK today, helping us out with speed figure equivalents. He's got Bradsell as just as fast as Cogburn. Is this race going to shape up to be a heavyweight bout between those two? How serious of a contender is Bradsell in your view?
He is a contender. Him and Cogburn are currently dominating the overseas market. 7-4 Cogburn, 7-2 Bradsell, and 10-1 the rest. So he's obviously a live contender. He's got some huge question marks leaning over him, though. And the major one is the fact that he's never been around a bend. And Del Mar is a tight, sharp 5 furlongs. And I think that that's a huge risk to be taking when you're looking at such a skinny price. In my opinion as well, when he ran at Longchamp last time, he looked like he was treading water late on. And I just wonder whether 27 days with the shipping over here and the major question mark about going around a bend, that's a big question mark. And the other thing is that he does his best work on the lead. Against American speed, you've got the likes of AG Bullet in here. Cogburn's probably going to go. He might be out of his comfort zone here. And at the prices, yes, he's a live contender, but do I want to be getting heavily involved with him? Probably not.
You mentioned AG Bullet, and this one ties into one of our sponsors for this Breeders' Cup season, our friends at Mill Ridge Farm, AG being the chemical symbol for silver. Very appropriate for the brilliantly fast gray filly, fastest filly for sale in the upcoming sales cycle. She's got a 106 buyer on her sheet. Our friends at Mill Ridge selling her at the upcoming phasing Tipton sale. Not an easy assignment in the turf sprint, but they're going to probably know her early.
Oh, for sure. I mean, she's probably going to be setting the pace. And, you look at the speed figure she ran at Kentucky Downs 2-back, that fits in here really. She's a live contender. I think she's currently around 14-1 or so overseas. Definitely a contender. How much did that race at Keeneland take out of her last time? That's going to be a slight question mark, though. But I can definitely see her holding on for a slice.
Let's get into one that personally, the work you've done with the Graham Motion Yard. I'm going to make you, I can say it now, but I'm going to make you pronounce it.
No, I'm going to make you pronounce it.
Isivunguvungu.
Close enough. Isivunguvungu, yeah.
I was close.
Close enough.
Give me the backstory on this one.
Yeah, so he's got a huge fan following over in South Africa. I think I'm right in saying that they might be bringing the entire South African rugby team over to see him. I mean, it's crazy. And back in Fairhill, we've had so many press coverages and videos from their fan base overseas. He's a really big deal over there and such a cool horse as well. obviously a multiple Grade 1 winner back in his native South Africa, and he ran with plenty of credit when he won at Colonial first time out. But I think he's going to run a much stronger race on Saturday, because you got to factor in the fact that he had to travel over. He did months in quarantine before that race, and we had to basically start from scratch from him. He was only working his way back up to peak fitness there. It was his first experience of American style turf racing. And since that race, he's really developed. He's training lights out at the moment. We're recording this show on Friday, October 25th. He has his final work tomorrow, and then he'll ship over here on Sunday. And the other thing that you've got to factor in, which goes for Beach Bomb, who's another South African shipper who will be running in the filly and mare turf, is that these South African horses are now just coming into their summer. When he was running through our summer, that was the time when horses normally are out of condition because it's their winter. So he's really blossoming in himself at the moment. And I think it's almost inevitable that he's going to run a much faster speed figure and better race than he did at Colonial last time. And he's currently trading around 25-1 in overseas markets, and I think that's huge value. I'm expecting a big run from this horse.
94 on the buyer scale. You're talking like that's just the tip of the iceberg for what this one's capable of. I'm going to ask you, going to rapid fire a couple of more in here. Then we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to come back and hold your feet to the fire for your main selection in this race. Next, I want to go to one that I was interested in last year in the turf sprint. Feels like the bloom's a little bit off the rose in market terms anyway, with a runner like Motorius. Could you see a bounce back from Motorius, though?
Yeah, to a degree I can. I think he's definitely got a chance of hitting the frame in this race. I mean, he's 5 out of 7 in the exacta, going a flat 5 furlongs. He's 3 for 3 over the Delmar turf course, and he brings the second fastest bar speed figure into this race. He's a cool, consistent horse. He has been kicked out the water by Cogburn before, but his run in this race last year, he was only beaten a length and a half in 5th, but he was boxed in. I mean, he had a horrendous trip through that race. And I'd say that he's equally as capable this year, if not better. And I can definitely see this horse sort of sitting a mid-pack trip and coming with a strong finish to get involved at the wire.
Star of Mystery, this 3-year-old filly, ran a hole in the wind back in the quick call. Didn't get it done around Keeneland in the Franklin, despite a bold late run. What shot do you give her? Is the 5 maybe too sharp for her with her closing running style?
Yeah, I think it is. I think she's going to get too far back in this race. Europeans, and the same goes for Bradsell as well, they've only won this race once, even though they typically dominate turf races at the Breeders' Cup. And at Delmar, they're 0 for 5 in the money. I know that's a small sample size, but they were some fancied horses that they brought over, the likes of Marsha, Emiratiana, even Glass Slippers, who then won this race at Keeneland another year. And I just think that she is going to get too far back. And also, I just have huge reservations about taking a 3-year-old filly taking on older males. That's a huge ask. And as we saw at Keeneland last time, over 5.5 furlong, she might have broken from the rail that day, but she just gives herself too much to do. And a sharp 5 furlongs at Delmar, I can't see it.
One more I need to ask you about. My daughter, a huge fan of the sitcom The Big Bang Theory. Howard Wolowitz, named after a character on there. Progressive profile, won the Grade 1 at Kentucky Downs. Do you give him any chance here?
Absolutely, I give this horse a chance. I really do. And he's currently trading around 25-1 overseas. And if I was still living in England, I'd be getting involved each way on that one for sure. He instantly became a in the money eye catcher when he ran in the Pony Stakes at Saratoga 2-back, because that was only his 3rd start, his 1st start on turf, and quite frankly, he should have won the race. He got murdered in the stretch. Next time out, Kentucky Downs got the job done really impressively. Now, I actually saw this horse for the first time yesterday here at Del Mar on the track, and boy, oh boy, is this a nice looking son of a gun. He looks fit. He looks primed and ready to run. He brings the third fastest by speed figure into this race, and I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I can see
Very
him
interesting.
sitting a stalk and pounce trip. You know, he can be close enough, but doesn't need the lead by any means. And I think he fits in here really nicely. This is a live contender at a big price for sure.
Glad you put in a plug for the eye catchers. Amazing work you've been doing as part of the free In the Money Media newsletter as well. And you can sign up and it doesn't cost a thing. inthemoneypodcast.com/email for that one. And you may at some point be prompted to sign up for the Plus service, for which Will also does fantastic work. We're going to be back with Will's idea of the winner, or at least idea of the top selection in terms of betting for this year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. But first, want to remind folks that this video brought to you by our friends at Twin Spires. You can now play the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge at Twin Spires. Register directly through Twin Spires Tournaments by visiting the BCBC tournament page over at twinspires.com. Now it's time for the rubber to meet the road, my friend. What's your idea? As of now, we'll give you a little bit of leeway to change based on things you see, the way the market changes between now and the big race. But your best idea right now for this Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint?
Well, you called him the best turf sprinter we've ever seen in America. I didn't go quite that far, but it's very hard to pose Cogburn in here. He's simply the best horse in the race. He's won over 6 furlongs. He's won over 5 furlongs. He's won uphill. He's won on flat tracks. I don't see how they're going to beat him. If he breaks, he wins. 7-4 currently overseas. If you are overseas and listening to this, take advantage of that, because he's probably going to be odds on over here.
Love it. You mentioned a couple of each way runners. Who would be your top one at a big price? You're going to go with the home team?
Yeah, I'd throw Howard Wolowitz underneath there and Isivunguvungu, both at 25-1 currently. And I think that lands a nice trifecta.
Love it, Will. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, PTF.
Twinspires.com are back in the tournament game. You can play the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge through Twinspires.com, and you can also start trying to qualify for horse racing's latest major tournament, the 2025 Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. Go to Twinspires.com and click the Tournaments tab.